You are not staying with us? I can see your eyes need some rest.
Hello.
Okay.
So we'll see later.
Are you going to get it?
I've shared it, right? I've shared it. Yeah, I was. Yes. Miriam, so that's sent to the committee platform so that other people can access it. And please, in the next once people are done with that, we now convert it to video and share on the other platform so that people can handle their panel and do what I do. General has what I didn't skip my memory is the Zoom link. It has it, so you just add it up there. Yes. It's the same Zoom link for all the programs.
Hello. Okay, good. So we are good to go. Let me invite the moderator to start the event, but quickly let me check our chairperson. I hope she's online. Professor,
I'm online.
thank you, ma. Then our discussant, Professor Oladimon, I hope she's online too.
I'm here. I'm here.
Wonderful. Thank you very much. So we would like to invite the moderator to set the ball rolling immediately. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, sir. A very good afternoon to each and every one of us. It's with great pleasure that I welcome each and every one of us here seated and our online participant. It's another blessed day for us here in the Institute of Cultural Studies of Obafemi Awolowo University to hold another webinar, another special one of its kind. Today, in our midst, we have the speaker, the person of Dr. Oluwabunmi Bernard, who is from Ghent University in Belgium. To discuss what she'll be saying, we have Professor Oyerunke Olademo from the Department of Religion, University of Ilorin. And then we have the Honorable Mover and Shaker, the chairman, the person of Professor Taiwo Kende Adekumbi, who is specially referred to as Mommy Katie. Thank you very much. Today, we have our webinar series titled Hunting Waste, Religion and the Perception of Bodily Waste in Yoruba. With this, it's a huge honor to hand over the baton to our chairman for today, the chairperson. in the person.
Thank you very much. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, thank you very much, Dr. Motosho. It's nice to see you after some weeks. And I want to thank Professor Fashiku for the honor of chairing this session. When he contacted me, my first response was, I have no knowledge at all of what is going on or what even the topic is about. But he insisted I could, that it's something I can do. So here I am. I'm from food science. So if I talk about food, please pardon me. Our moderator has introduced our speakers, but I just want to say one or two things about this topic. You know, about bodily waste. He sent me a list of bodily waste. I'm aware of them, but to imagine that each one of them has religious implication is amazing to me. And I thought, waste. In food science, waste can be wasted, but waste can also be added value to. That's what you call byproducts. And today, we are going to hear the byproduct of bodily waste in the religious perspective, whether it's a positive value addition or a negative value addition. I want to go on to the rules. The speaker, Dr. Bernard, has 40 to 45 minutes. I believe she has been informed. Our discussant, Professor Yeronke, has 10 minutes, and then we will open the floor for discussion. Online participants, you will have opportunity to ask your questions. To make it fast, you can put your questions in the chat box as the ideas are coming to you. Put your questions in the chat box, while the physical participants will recognize 5 people as time permits. So thank you for this opportunity. Dr. Bernard, over to you.
Thank you very much, Professor Taiwo. It's an honor to have you chair this occasion, this seminar. And I also want to start by thanking Professor Lademo. She's who I call just at the whim, and she responds anytime I need her to chair or to discuss anything. I just have to tell her, and she will move heaven and earth to be where I need her to be for me. Thank you very much, Prof. Good afternoon.
You're welcome.
My name is Oluwabumi Bernard, and let me start. I will do like Akim always does. My specialty is Yoruba major, so pardon my very terrible English. You'll be hearing a lot of Yoruba in what I'm saying, and the accent too. You will know where I'm from. So I want to also thank everyone for coming. I want to thank the the Institute of Cultural Studies for putting this together. I want to thank the director and the member of staff. Thank you everyone for helping make this put this together. And I want to thank my sponsors. I have a lot of them, but I will get to them at the end of the presentation. But I will thank my university, my department, and the people joining from Ghent. I see you. Thank you very much. The title of this seminar is Hunting Waste, Religion and the Perception of Bodily Waste in Yoruba. And I would like to give a context to how this came about. So when we talk about waste and bodily waste for that matter, there is a lot of perception about what it is and what it stands for. Because when you say waste, people assume that it is no longer useful within that space for the most part, especially when it's bodily waste. And I'll give an ethnographic or biographic context, 2 of them. The first one was when I was in secondary school. I went to a boarding school. It was a mixed gender school. We have the boys section and the ladies section. Now, there is one problem that we always had at the girls' hostel. which is the problem of Babadudu. So we'll have this male figure. I've never seen him, but it's believed to exist. I think for our male hosted, they have Madame Koi Koi or something, but no one has ever claimed, people claim to have seen these figures, but for us, it was Babadudu. And what does Babadudu come to do when it comes to our hosted in the middle of the night? It looks for female bodily wastes in the form of used menstrual pads and also just female bodily fluids. And so when we have to make sure that we dispose our sanitary pads carefully, because Babadudu will come to collect them. And this was the terror that we lived with throughout my CCS in secondary school. We would have Babadudu come in the night and people would chase. So we know there is somebody coming to the hostel. In fact, I experienced it when I was in my final year, the SS3, when he actually came into my room. We would feel the presence, but he was never caught. But it was only after bodily waste for females. Now, and so that is one of the contexts that I want to, so I can prepare your mind to what I'm trying to discuss and how this came about. So this is introduction, and the second narrative to build my context. So on the New Year's Eve in 2018, I was headed to a barber's shop for a haircut. My mother and my children went with me. I sat in the barber's chair, and within 30 minutes of professional precision, my chopped off hair, second slide, sorry, was lying next to my chair. I paid the barber and I was ready to leave, but my mother wasn't. I looked back and there she was, packing my hair from the floor of the barber's shop into a nylon or plastic bag. I didn't know that she had the plastic bag with her. She made sure that not a strand of my hair was left at that shop. Immediately, I knew what she was doing and why. She was going to dispose of my chopped hair properly to forestall possibility of the hair being put to ritual use against me and everyone related and connected to me, should it fall into the hands of the wrong people. Even though the chopped off hair from my head had become bodily waste, it had gained a new ritual hunting power in its new order. These ritual powers may be used for either good or bad of the owner and those that they are related to. This bodily waste they have occupied new space, new order that require human agency to activate their powers. The belief among Yoruba of Southwest Nigeria is that whatever has been outside of or has touched the body, even when it leaves those spaces, must not be treated with levity and must be properly disposed of. The Yoruba believe that such things have become an extension of the body they once inhabited or touched, even now that they have become waste. This waste carry a person's essence, vital life force, Ashe, and the improper disposal of bodily waste may haunt them if people with bad intentions take possession of them. They become magical, dangerous. This is why the Yoruba are wary of disposing of their used clothes by donating them to strangers or even family members, because their sweat, bodily fluid, bodily waste has touched them. They are careful not to be too trusting of people. This caveat is reflected in the Yoruba saying that you can only be certain of whom you love, but you cannot tell who truly loves you. The sweat they believe to contain their essence, their ashe, their being, their selfhood, part of their ori, the fate, the destiny, which is transferred to any piece of clothing it touches. There are stories among the Yoruba about people whose essence were stolen. Good destinies were destroyed, exchanged, or replaced with bad ones, with bad or useless ones, because they did not dispose of such bodily waste properly, or that those who wished them healed got hold of them. Next slide. This belief is also performed by the Nigerian Christian, particularly the Pentecostals and Muslims. Therefore, even though hair has left the head eyelids, and pubic areas. Old clothes have been discarded. Excreta and urine have left the body. Saliva has left the mouth. Menstrual blood and placenta have left a woman's womb. Vagina and seminal fluid have left the body. Baby's umbilical cord has fallen off and have left the original order and have become bodily waste. They are still connected to the essence of the owner. And because of that, they have acquired new powers in this new order. Against this backdrop and using ethnographic lens, this study, and I want to pause a bit to tell you that this is a book project proposal. And so please give me all the feedback that I'm still trying to get these ideas together, and hopefully that you will understand what the context I'm building, and be able to give me quality feedback to improve the quality of my writing. Thank you. So I will be using, so this study points out that what is considered sacred or dirt, trash, is not just an order that may be acquired or lost because of movement within, from, or to it. The end of an order may be the beginning of another. Their wasteful condition starts and activates their powers. I claim that even waste, especially bodily waste, may become powerful again in this new order. To achieve what I set out to do, I will attempt a tripartite approach. One, I will interrogate Mary Douglas, Maisa Eliade, and Nimi Wariboko's idea of sacred, profane, and uncleanliness to explain, reflect the religion and political interpretation of bodily waste in post-colonial societies. Two, I will make use of ethnographic narratives to expound perception of the treatment of bodily waste among the Yoruba. Three, I will explore Yoruba orature and some selected literary works to demonstrate how bodily waste are treated within sacred environments. This was done with the intent to argue that there is a common thread of understanding regarding bodily waste among these three streams of interpretation. In a previous study, I'm trying to give a background to this study. Sacred trash, in the previous essay, Sacred Trash, Paradox of Ritual Objectification in Yoruba, it's an essay that I have written, and it's currently being reviewed by Journal of Religion and Theology. I posited that sacred trash are items, objects that have been discarded after use, particularly after ritual practices and performances. These objects, I argued, have left what I call the sacred sacrificial order with no prospect of returning, and I have described them as trash. These items may include empty bottles, sachets of schnapps, palm oil, palm wine, and other drinks that are acceptable for libation rites, calabashes containing decaying votives, putrefying flesh of animals, sacrificed to deities, and pieces of clothing of various colors that have been brought as offering to deities. I call them trash because when emptied out of their contents, the shell becomes trash and cast out of an order. So this order is I have developed it in line with Mary Douglas's idea of what sacred is, something that is, of what purity is and what danger is. She claims that anything that is out of an order is considered trash because it's matter out of place. But I call it order because place is place is also okay, but I prefer order. So they have permanently left the sacred sacrificial order. They no longer serve any purpose within that space, but still inhabit the sacred space. It is possible for them to be recycled, upcycled, and all the cycling that is happening with waste these days. So, but when they leave this, but they've permanently left the sacrificial order and they no longer perform any function within that. So they are susceptible to inhabit both the sacred spaces, and they are discarded after use. I argue further that for sacred powers of these items to be reactivated, they must return to their order, to their original order. However, in this study, I opine that the waste may become potent, dangerous, monstrous after it has been recaptured by human agents who may reactivate its sacred power. In the old meaning of monster and monstrous or monstrosity refers to terror, terrifying excesses, and terrifying formlessness of possibilities. This is according to Nemi Wariboko. The monstrous is not fit into an existing order, and hence is dangerous. And can be haunting also. However, the displaced hair or sweat on a piece of clothing quickly moves from a liminal state of monstrosity to a new constructed order that exudes power. So my question is there a new form of danger or power related to holiness or unholiness? While Mary Douglas's assertion of dirt with danger always foregrounds holiness, what I foreground here is unholiness, evil power, malicious act, and ordered disorder that threatens the proper order of things in a larger society or a wider context. So in Mary Douglas's definition of dirt, she claims that dirt is anything that is out of order. In her book, Purity and Danger, just pardon the PowerPoint. I'll be able to get to them at some point. I want them to be able to speak to you when I get back to them. So Mary Douglas described the concept of sacred and dirt broadly. She describes sacred, clean, hygienic as what use and order. A category of people, of human society that the category of human society that created. And dirt is whatever is out of that order or misplaced in it. What this means is that what was once considered sacred may become dirt when it leaves an allocated order or because of that. And because of that, it loses its power. So they have parted from one order that gives them order. However, when they lose their ritual power after being parted from their original order, they may acquire power in this new order. And that's Jacques Derrida's concept of ontology will be useful in helping us lay the foundation for the argument about the infinite possibilities of what is absent within an order and how the trace of what is absent still pervades and disrupts the present. This is why my focus in this study will be to provide answers to these 4 questions. 1, how does bodily waste acquire haunting powers when they are seemingly out of an original order or place? 2, how does this perception influence the treatment and disposal of this bodily waste? 3, how are bodily waste such as excrement, urine, genital discharge of fluids, menstrual blood, sweat, nail trimmings, human hair, saliva, placenta, umbilical cords, and dead bodies perceived in the Yoruba worldview? 4, how does the treatment of this bodily waste intersect with the performance of Yoruba culture, Yorubaness, Yoruba Orisha worship, and the preservation of the environment? So for my methodology, I intend to conduct both primary and secondary. I use both, both primary and secondary sources of data. I will employ both. And for my primary data, I intend to consult with 50 people. So I'm thinking on 30 females and of 35 females, because as you will see in the pictures, you will see that most of the bodily waste that are ritualized actually always come from female body. And I intend to ask what the female, so I want to talk to women more than I will talk to men. And I also want to talk to people in the diaspora. And I say this because while I am still using Yoruba as my context, I have spoken to a friend of mine who is Ghanaian, and she has a very similar idea of the perception, what is similar to how the Yoruba perceive bodily waste in her own culture. And I also spoke to a Muslim Armenian, and she, funnily, has the same interaction with hair. She's Hijabi. She was my office mate when I was in Netherlands Institute of Advanced Study, and she wears hijab. And I asked her, Aisha, how do you perceive, how do you perceive bodily waste, and how do you feel about your hair? And she's like, no, if I get my hair cut, I'm definitely disposing it within my own cultural, now I've run out of my English, cultural context. I warned you, I said, my English is very, very that way, but thank you, context. So she also has a religious context also. So while she has the culture as an Armenian, she also has the religious Muslim context. So she's working with 2 contexts now. And so I intend to interact with other people outside the Yoruba culture And I want to also interact with medical practitioners, because earlier today, one of my doctor friends, I think she may be online, medical doctor, who was one of the people that helped me with the birth of my child, my first child, both of my children, asked me, do you invite medical doctors? Because we have challenges dealing with how people perceive bodily waste in the hospitals. So I guess the way people interact with bodily waste interfere with how doctors carry out their own medical work. So I intend to interact with medical doctors. So I'm not just interacting with people based on religion. I'm also interacting with people based on their own profession and how they interact with bodily waste. I'll also be interacting with people who work with waste, like the waste management people, to see how they interact with bodily waste, hair, nail trimmings, anything really that comes from the body and that I've listed earlier. So and I will be looking at how I cannot talk about waste and not discuss environmental sustainability and preservation, because that is the area that I have recently found interest. So I will be finding the interaction between all this myth, religion, profession, and environmental preservation. So I am not aware at this time of an interdisciplinary approach that draws from varieties of sources, including religion, culture, anthropological, gender, and ecological theories to examine how order or disorder may reactivate ritual and haunting powers of bodily waste within a new space. This study is significant because it takes a novel approach to interrogating and understanding the perception of bodily waste amongst the Yoruba. Quickly go to the next slide. And this is my proposed table of, this is my proposed table of contents. I will, for now, it's proposed, so it is what it is. And the chapter 3, I wish to, chapter 1, I'll be introducing haunting waste and how, I'll be introducing the idea of haunting waste. Taken from Derrida's ontology. And chapter 1, I'll be discussing order and disorder and the mobility of bodily waste. And when I say mobility, I mean how when I spoke to my Ghanaian friend, she told me that if someone passes away in our culture in a foreign land and they bury them, they don't have to bring the whole body back. They can take the nail trimmings, they can bring the hair on the person's body and bury that. And that in itself, so it's a kind of synodoky. It's a part of a person representing the whole. So bodily waste can actually be very, very mobile, and it is. So I want to interrogate other cultures and what it means in cultures to have mobility of bodily waste. And excrement vision. I am kind of also engaging religion, and this will lead me to the religious aspect, because there is a lot of debate on how excrement is viewed and how it can be a form of oppression between the oppressed and the oppressor, or the oppressed, and what lies in between. I hope to interrogate that further in my chapter 2. And then this chapter 3 title was inspired by Dr. Ekundayo, the Director of Gender Studies and Social Policy, I think, here at Obafemi University's research at a point where she was interrogating how this female bodily waste was interrogated a bit. And she was using the thing about Yahoo boys years ago, where the women were worried about putting their panties out because they were getting stolen. And so her title, I asked permission for this, is Your Panties or Your Life. I think it's a twist on your money or your life, because at the end of the day, the connection and the attraction that people have with bodily waste is tantamount to life. Blood is life, and all the bodily waste and the essence of it. So if you lose your panties, you may be losing an important aspect of your life. And so that is bodily waste, ritual, haunting powers in Yoruba Orisha worship. And 4, I call it religion, deliverance service, and interactions of bodily waste. And I think in the slides, you may have seen pastors saying that they anoint underwears, so that they are for deliverance purposes and all that. And there are lots of, when it comes to Pentecostalism, there are lots of pastors that are interacting with bodily waste. And I want to interrogate and engage that and see how religion plays an important role. And one of the slides, I don't know if you saw a Muslim ask, how do we get rid of our bodily waste? I think that is on slide 2 or 3. No, 2, 3. Yes. It says it is best to dispose cut nails. This is I think one of his sheikh is responding to him. I saw this online. He says it is best to dispose cut nails and hair by burying them. Burying them. Regarding this, it is narrated in the tradition that the prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, I hope I did that correctly, said, bury your blood, hair, and nails, and let not the black magicians play with them. So even in the context of Islam, there is the fear that a bodily waste may come back to haunt the person that was the owner of this bodily waste. So they have been advised to, make sure they dispose of their bodily waste properly so that people with bad intentions will not lay hands on them and use this substances or this bodily waste against them. So that's why I want to also, that's why I'm going to interrogate how this is performed in Islam as well. And finally, bodily waste in the performance of religion and environmental sustainability, the chapters. Yes, so that is for now. I'm just going to also see how bodily waste interact with religious performance. And I say this because in one of my field study, I came across 2 women, Iyalawos. They were discussing about their encounter with bodily waste in the sacred space. So one of them was complaining that she had gone to perform rituals at the sacred river. I think it was Oshun River and Odo Oshun. And then when she was busy, while she was performing this ritual, she saw a floating feces pass by. And she said she stopped. She couldn't go further to perform it because at that time, she felt that that water was already is dirty. Now, my question is, can sacred become dirty? Can sacred become trash? And what is the implication of this on ever? Because she was performing her rituals, but she stopped because she felt at that time it was not clean. And the person she was talking to, this was me just sitting and they were having a discussion. And she said, oh, I would have continued because no way, nothing can make the sacred unsacred. The water is Oshun, and Oshun will make sure that this water is still fit for consumption or for performance of this ritual. So I want to interrogate this and engage this and see how this would also play out when I get there. So, and I will conclude. But for my, I wanted to talk just a bit more about how bodily waste is performed and received and perceived amongst the Yoruba, especially at the time that the Yahoo boys and women's panties were in rave. There was even a time, I didn't know until yesterday when I saw, I'm sorry, my water. Yeah. Sorry. No, there's still water. Okay. Okay, so this, and I was going to play the and I'll get back to that. Thank you. There's a song by Olamide and Lil Kesh that I want you to listen to. It's about how Yahoo boys interact with bodily waste. It was a song that actually made waves a couple of years ago.
Money no enter, I go do blood money, I pray to Allah. Money no enter, I go do blood money.
Well, it's a very short song, but you get the idea. And it was until yesterday that I saw the song that I actually noticed that the Benz logo actually looks like a female tongue. So it's kind of very, the tongue. I don't, yeah, the upside down tongue. If you okay, let me see. Yeah, so and I think, and one of the things that people have discussed is, how do you identify someone that has come to wealth with a sudden wealth? Is that they buy Benz. And this is what, so when I heard this song about Patani logo Benz, and that if I don't get money, I will do blood money. Something that is the lyrics of the song. And this takes me back to what the Yahoo boys were doing with female panties and menstrual pads and all these things that have. So if you saw one of the slides that I shared earlier, some of the ladies said we stopped wearing panties because they were at gunpoint, they were robbed. They were actually robbed. I mean, when you get robbed and the only thing you lose is your underwear, right? So women at that time in Delta State, according to many of the headlines, females stopped wearing panties so that when you see them, you have nothing to take from them. They would not even, because they believe that if you are stealing their essence, they rather lose any other thing than lose their pants, because for them, their panties contains their bodily waste, which is an extension of them. And for this kind of interaction and belief and perception, one begins to wonder how do people has anyone seen anyone who has lost their lives or who has died from losing their bodily waste? But no, the religious interpretation and belief is what people are holding on to. And my mom will always say that, do not, okay, I'll say it in Yoruba. My mom will say that I mean, I'm trying to remember how she says it properly, but she's always saying that learn from somebody's experiences, not yours. Like if a gun, but okay, the gun will go off or not. I will not be the test subject for that. So whether these panties and this bodily waste are they are attached or they are a connection, an extension of my personhood, I do not want to be an example for people to find out. So everyone is careful. And this is displayed in how religion is performed, how politics is performed, and how culture is also performed. And this is where I hope I was able to go through everything I wanted to. Thank you very much for listening. And before I leave, I want to thank everyone who has come. I want to thank Akim for our interactions. I want to thank Professor Nimi Wariboko for the idea for this book. And I want to say that for everyone, and my host in Ghent, I want to thank him. He cannot be here because he's in the class, but everyone who has come, my friends from Algeria, I think Khadija is there, and everyone who is here, and also everyone online and everyone in person. I want to thank you for your time, and I want to thank you for the resources that you have spent to be here today. I look forward to your feedback for this. I don't even know what I'm doing yet, but I hope I can you can give me a lot of good feedback. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Bernard. You used less than 30 minutes, and that is very beautiful. It's commendable. You passed your message across succinctly. Thank you very much. So we go to the discussant, Professor Alademo. You have 10 minutes. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I'm trying to see how I can use that 10 minutes. Let me start by saying this is a very interesting and worthy project. And I really commend the researcher. My first observation is that the title of the work needs the word among before Yoruba. If that is what you have in mind, I want to suggest that you should insert it there. For this research, I identified 3 intersections: religion and anatomy, religion and culture, religion and microbiology. I guess you have chosen religion and culture, and the culture you are focusing on is the Yoruba culture. That's why I said I suggest using among the Yoruba. Now, the continuity of the essence in bodily waste from the individual that produced it has been confirmed by science. So I'm suggesting you should check medical research concerning the continuing connection between mother and child for life. Check www.ariel.medicine.com. I will give you this particular paper when I finish. Moving on, for this project, there is a clear continuum. 1, waste. 2, agency. 3, new order. In other words, the waste does not automatically acquire new power and interpretation. It can only do so through agency, specifically human agency. That human agency is located in Yoruba culture, which is your focus. Furthermore, that agency is activated by word, oral, not speech, word. So for this work, I'm suggesting that you need to countenance both theory and literature review on agency, human agency. It's so crucial because it's at the middle. You have waste in the beginning, you have the new order at the end, but in the middle is human agency. I have identified some literature here that I think can help you with the issue of theory on agency. Okay, then there is the need to discuss bodily waste and pollution. For want of a better word, the Yoruba will call pollution egbin. I see you say you will refer to literary works. So can you problematize egbin ati egbin? Egbin is beauty. Egbin ati egbin. There is a whole lot of body of meat in that direction. I'm suggesting you should look at it. Of course, you cannot escape consulting the Ifa Oracle. I'm assuming that you will look into the Ifa Oracle. Okay. Now, for your methodology, I think that 50 interviews is cumbersome. Okay? That's my view. I think it's cumbersome. I think you should incorporate the administration of a questionnaire. I'm suggesting that that questionnaire should target the young population of Babalawos and Yanifas, both on the continent and in the diaspora. This is because by young, I mean below 40 years. This is because an aspect of your work leans on post-colonial perspective. So you needed the voice of these people. In any case, these are the population of cultic functionaries in Yoruba religions that are mobile. They go from the diaspora to the continent, from the continent. I'm sure you know what I'm talking about. Then I noticed that you captured Christianity and Islam in your introduction. In your presentation, you also made reference to it. But that is all. I don't see it any other place in your chapterization and all that. You refer to chapter 3 where you're talking about, or 4, where you're talking about deliverance. But that is not Christianity and Islam per se. I'm suggesting that if you want to incorporate these two worldviews into this work, you will need to rework your title to reflect same. That's my suggestion. Then the significance of this study. In its present state as presented, I would suggest that you need to improve it. For example, what is the practical relevance of this research for society? For hospitals on handling bodily waste. I'm so happy that in your presentation, you interacted with the medical field. What is the relevance? What is the relevance of this work at the level of policy making? I referred you to your chapter 4 on your proposed table of contents. So you will need to pay attention to this, because no matter how beautiful the research is, you will agree with me, if it does not have practical significance, it may not be worthwhile. Okay. Now, you spoke about the environment. That means you cannot escape discussing theories on pollution. So I go back to that again. You should please pay attention to issue of pollution. Now, for your population, your sample population, I want to encourage you to specifically target, at least for a portion of the sample population, the people who are directly involved with body waste, barbers, midwives, and all that. Even these young Hausas with scissors, they are knocking it like this. They go from garage to garage to cut people's nails. I'm sure you know those people I'm talking. People who are directly, let your sample population at least do some purposive sampling so that it will aid the authenticity of the work. So generally speaking, how does this research address tradition and modernity? Because your premise leans on tradition. Your significance and implication leans on modernity. How are you going to bridge that? So that brings you back again to the issue of agency, human agency. I agree with you. A large percentage of bodily waste emanates from the female. I like the examples of the yahoo yahoo and the pants and the whatever. Okay, so those are realities that we have lived with over the years. One will go down, the other will come up, and things like that. But I think that you should be careful when you are doing gender stratification for this project, because you don't want to exclude, you want to be inclusive. For women, there is menstruation, there is the birth process, the process of giving birth. And even during the process of giving birth, among the Yoruba, the placenta of the child is never given to the mother or her relatives. It's handed over either to the father or to the family of the father. So you see, this again collaborates the theory of no absolutism among the Yorubas. It is a matter of cooperation, not oppression. The woman that is giving birth does not have access. Most times, as I speak, I never saw any of the placentas of my children. They were handed over to the father of the child or to the family, and they know how they dispose of it. So I want to suggest that as you go along in this work, you should try to maintain your gender. Don't make it a feminist work. This is one work that feminism will undermine. So try as much as possible to maintain the balance. Then this emphasis on religion. Even your title is talking about religion. However, that religion is assumed in this present state to be Yoruba religion. Christianity and Islam are not Yoruba religion per se. They have been domesticated, yes, but they are not Yoruba religion per se. So please bear this at the back of your mind when you are reworking your title. Do you want to carry them along in this particular project? Or do you want to leave them for another project and just focus on Yoruba religion? Because when you are talking about the agency, you are going to go into myths and stories and narratives that are not in tandem with Christianity and Islam. Again, you mentioned that you will make reference to orature, literary work, published works, and all that. I want you to also be careful as you delineate your tools for gathering data, because it will take you back to the issue of tradition and modernity. When you are dealing with narratives, you are dealing with myths and all that, you are in tradition. When you are dealing with published literary work, you are already in modernity. So it's a delicate balance throughout the work that I would suggest you should pay close attention to. These are my comments. Thank you very much. I hope this will help.
Thank you, Professor Alademo. Again, you kept time. Please help appreciate her. She kept the time. We have brilliant ladies. Sorry if I'm gender. Uh, keeping to time beautifully. I want to thank you for your insightful comments. I've gone to the chat room and there are a few chats there thanking people, but there's a major one from Professor Morenike Folayan. I will read it out. It says also the need to engage with the literature on intersectionality of the multiple concepts is critical. Though the concept of intersectionality is problematic, but may be appropriate for this study. Without conceptualizing the intersectionality of views into the work, it may be challenging to pull the multiple perspectives, religion, gender, wealth, ritual, as a concept of wealth together and write this as a wholesome project. So this is not a question, but just a contribution. And I believe it goes in line with what Professor Oyeronke has made comments on. We want to thank Morenike Folayan for that comment. Now we would like to take questions and answers. We're going to question and answers session. Please, I can see some hands from the floor. Permit me to first ask from our audience online. Do we have any questions online? I don't see any hand. Professor Fashiku, please, could you help recognize the hands from the floor? Professor Fashiku?
Yes, I'm with you.
Yes, right. Please recognize the people and we give 2 minutes. The question or comment should not be more than 2 minutes, at least for this instance, to allow other people to comment. If we take 5 people and there are more hands or no hands, then we come back. Thank you for now. Over to you, Professor Fashiku.
Okay, we have the first, there are now 4 for now. Professor Hakeem Salahu, number 1. Venerable Odunlade, number 2. Professor Adisa, number 3. And then Professor Umiraji, number 4. And then 5, Dr. Awuawa. 5 on site. So should we go ahead with the 5?
Please go ahead, sir.
Okay, so Professor Hakeem Salahu.
Hunting waste, so. And the second one I saw now, the one you posted, the director, they have changed it to description, body waste, religion, and other things. Now, well, don't mind me as a grammar person. The first one, hunting waste. The word hunting, it serves as an adjective there. And it's like it connotes negativity. And we need to realize that not all body waste used for negative things, even in Yoruba tradition. So you have to find a way of either removing it or modify it so that it do not connote negativity. And then the second one, my second comment is on the modernity and tradition. That, you know, I'll still go to positivity. That in science now, maybe you'll find out later, they don't hand over placenta even to the family anymore. In most of they now use it for leukemia. That's positive, not negative. So I hope you will look at all those ones. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you, sir. I want to talk about the word perception. Perception. And that is the issue of how people think or what they feel about it. If I could remember, about 14 years ago when I was a student here, there was a woman in one of the female hostels who was caught picking sanitary pads. Picking sanitary pads. The woman was handed over to the campus security by then. If we are not perceiving anything about it, nobody will worry about it. There was the issue of a mortuary attendant just this week, yes, in Ekiti. The corpse was in the morgue, and they discovered all the fingernails, not the finger, or the fingernails were not there. The thinking of the society is the perception of the society. And whenever you see this, what they think is for ritual purpose. If I'm not mistaken, I think the issue now is between science and religion. Like my father said now, the placenta is being used for something positive. But I want to assure you, not everybody will agree that they should not hand over the placenta. I collected all the placenta of my children, and people still do it today. It's just because of the perception. Look at the way he pointed, look at where he pointed to. But it is not in accordance with our tradition. It may be useful positively, scientifically, and if you look at all we are saying scientifically, it has no meaning. Either you call the fingernails, even the aboki the madam pointed to, when they call people fingernails or this thing, the owner of those fingernails will collect it from them. And lastly, I remember there is a crisis between a woman and a barber. This woman has been coming to buy hair, the hair cut from this barber. And when this man discovered the demand was getting too much, he went and bought wig and cut the wig like this and presented it to the woman. And the woman came back and said the thing is not working. I think you get the point there. That actually means this thing is efficacious. It's working. Now we're talking of the perception. The perception, what people think about it, is still very, very much alive. Thank you. Thank you. My own contribution will come this way. In sociology, we call something holism. That a whole, if you have an object, that it is bigger, it is larger than the sum of its elements. If you had all the elements together, that the whole is still larger than. So my own worry is that as I'm standing, what I've gained from your lecture is that I exist in many forms, in multiple forms. Each element, each part, no matter how minute of me, stands for my own. So I will like you to give attention to that. And as you continue, will you not be interested in tracking? Or is unimportant if you don't need to connect any waste to the owner before it can be used for any purpose. Tracking system and representation is my part actually representing my own, that they don't really need my whole self before I can be dealt with. Thank you.
Yeah, I find that the project is very interesting. And I enjoyed the presentation that I have listened to. However, I think that, yes, I know that your takeoff point is religion. But I feel that you are too tied to that religion for now. So you are allowing it to hold you down. Because
So, and I'm talking at the level of interpretation. So you want to be too orthodox. This is the way it is perceived among the Yorubas. What about you, the scholar? Okay, so you need to dig deeper, because some of these things, if you research, deeply into, you may discover, okay, these days, the sacred has taken over the concept of ritual, but you may discover that originally, maybe the person who spoke, the Professor Ladema, talked about pollution, the whole question of health issues. Maybe the whole question of, you talked about the environment, but you didn't say much about that. Was it in Things Fall Apart, where they said, I can't remember now which of Achebe's novel, whether it's Things Fall Apart or Arrow of God, where when people have what can be called smallpox these days, they call it white stains. What they used to do is they would take the person and take him or her to this sacred forest. And if the person still finds its way back to the city, they will take the person back and tie the person down there so that it could. And so over the years, I have spoken to quite a number of people, and they said that it is to avoid it spreading. Then there's another novel. Okay, it's a white American, incidentally, who lived in Africa. I can't remember, but the title of the novel is The Poisonwood Bible. The Poisonwood Bible. So he migrated to the Congo and studied them, and the novel, is set in the Congo. It's white American. And he talked about, one of the scientists, eventually, one of the 4 daughters of this evangelist who went to settle there, and the children grew. So one of them grew up to become a scientist, researching there. And he discovered that among the populace, that she used to find it strange that, okay, if they have a stream, okay, they will want to fetch water from up the stream. And if people want to maybe discharge or whatever, you have to then move down. And then when he asks questions, it also has to do with the question of health, with the question of, so you don't drink contaminated water or polluted water and so on and so forth like that. So you may discover if you research deeply that there is more to these things, and you may discover, of course, that religion, that sacred interpretation will still be there, but you may discover that you have to modify this. You may have to break free eventually. Thank you.
Thank you, the presenter. When I was coming to the venue, I was coming with an empty head, but now I have something in my head, and I want to expand your reasoning about the waste, the body waste. In the thief culture, we have it. Yeah, we have it in thief culture. Like my clothes can represent me anywhere. Like my family is having a meeting, spiritual, whatever, cultural meeting. If my clothing is there, if whatever, my shade or whatever is there, I'm already there. And what the witches and wizards in our place do is that they can pick your clothes and mention your name and wear it and say, this is Dr. Uwa will do this, and something will happen. It's very, very important. That is, it happens in thief culture. You are talking about the umbilical cord. We don't dispose it anyhow. It is disposed during rainy season. When the rivers flow to the brim, we go and throw it there. So it goes. It's not a question of you going to, you must keep it. If a woman keeps pets in dry season, it must be kept somewhere on the rainy season where the rivers are filled up, and then you go and throw it there. So it's very important. And I want to also, my recent experience, when I was traveling to Benue State recently, last month, they caught one of these Benue people who come down to the southwest to do work. And while they were searching, the police were searching, they saw a woman panties. And the guy was there for almost 5 hours because they were suspecting, why should you be carrying, you are a man and you are carrying female panties? And she said, no, it's my mother. They said, no. I think they used it also. So I think you should also expand your reasoning. The thief do that. In fact, we don't joke. In fact, my clothing, I don't give it out. If I'm going to give even money, if I have my money now, if I'm dashing money to somebody, I must know who I'm dashing the money. As a Christian, I must pray over it. I must sprinkle holy water on it so that I can dash it to you by anything you do to happen to me. So it is not within the Yoruba culture alone. You can also reason beyond the Yoruba culture and go to it. Thank you very much.
Okay, I think we are done with the first 5.
Yes, we have some hands online, sir.
So, gentlemen,
Please, those on site, put down your hands.
yeah, so
Professor Fashiku,
yes.
please, those online have indicated interest, so let's recognize them.
Please,
I want to recognize my in-law so that he will treat my sister well. Professor Wole Koka. Ẹ káàsán, sir. Now, the last speaker said he came with an empty head. He's not alone. I also came with an empty head and I'm learning. But I'm wondering, Professor Raji talked about religion and so on. I'm wondering, is there nothing called scope of study? Because for any study, there will always be multiple factors or interests. But must a study cover all of this? So this is something the speaker should note, I mean the presenter. And then also the last, Professor Raji too also talked about environmental pollution. And I noted that some of the wastes are not biodegradable. They do not degrade. Like the menstrual pad, even hair does not degrade. It just keeps flying all around and so on. So those comments are quite valid, and there are things for the author to take into consideration. So I have seen online the hands of Bola Olaiwola. There's Fola, number 2. Okpeyemi Ekundayo, number 3. Laide Sheba and Prince Adebowale, number 5. We start with Bola Olaiwola. Please make it 2 minutes. As you can see, we still have more hands on the on-site participants. We want to give as many people as possible an opportunity. Thank you.
Move fast. Come and put your things here.
Please, you're on the floor. Bola Olaiwola. I can see. Is that Professor Olaiwola, please?
Good evening.
Jacinta, bye. Bye.
It's coming. I missed your lecture. Abba.
Yes.
Abba. Come in here.
So, with my...
Can I come in, sir? The network is breaking. Is that only me that is?
Oh, I think a challenge with
Professor Olaiwola, please, we would like to skip you for now. Maybe you change your position.
Hello?
Okay. Now it's better.
Okay, it's better now. Go on, sir. Professor Olaiwola.
Skip one.
Please, can we go on to Fola? There's a Fola here. Please, mute. Fola, you have the floor, please. Fola? Fola is not speaking.
Hello.
Okay, you have 2 minutes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you very much. I am Fola Adejo. Okay, the first time I heard about this presentation today, I was very interested, and I actually was thinking it's all going to border around parts, Iso, that is Yoruba, and probably urine and the like. But when she started talking about what she presented today, it got more interesting. And in my mind, I can really divide this harvesting of bodily waste into 2. And what makes them so interesting when it comes to the religious perspective is there are some bodily waste that are harvested with permission, And there are those that are vested without permission, which were some of those things she mentioned, probably the hair, urine, and every other thing and that she mentioned. And then that reminds me of one incident that happened some years ago. Somebody died, and then the person was carried to the hospital. And then before they were able to extract the body to bury, they discovered that there was a cut on the person's chest and the stomach, and it was discovered that some of the internal organs had been harvested for whatever reason, nobody knows. So I want to think that even the whole body can actually be waste eventually after death. That is my opinion. I don't think it was mentioned. I don't think it had been categorized as we can have the whole body being a waste. Then the other thing is I have read online and in many publications that even fat, that is very useful because they say when somebody farts beside you and you inhale the fat, is beneficial medically to the body. So yeah,
Thank
it
you.
reduces the person. And then so I don't know if she's going to buttress our points with harvesting bodily fats with permission or without permission. That is my opinion. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We appreciate your inputs. The next person, Dr. Opeyemi Ekundayo. 2 minutes, please. Opeyemi Ekundayo. Fola, please put down your hand.
Hello,
Opeyemi,
ma'am.
are you there? Okay, yes. You
Yeah,
are on
I'm
the
here.
phone.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you, Dr. Bernard, for the very beautiful presentation. And thanks for...
We can't hear you. Dr. Ekundayo. Dr. Ekundayo. I'm going to skip you and invite the next speaker. Can we have Professor Sheba, please? Sheba.
Thank you very much. Can you hear me?
Yes, please go ahead, ma'am.
Okay, thank you very much. And thanks to the presenter.
Hello,
for
sorry,
that.
I was off for 1 minute. So,
Opeyemi, we will come back to you. Opeyemi, we will come back to you, please. Someone else is on the floor.
Oh,
okay,
sorry.
thank
Go
you.
on, Professor Sheba.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Bernard, for that beautiful presentation. I won't take much of your time. I think you can, what do you have to say about, because you are saying hunting, this issue of urine and excreta. We have people talking about using excreta as butter for their bread. And we have this urine being used for agbo. In fact, for conversion, there's one concoction with the urine that they use. And my own last question now is, what do you consider of the body producing this waste now becoming a waste at the end of the day? What do you think about that? After death, the body producing all the waste you have been talking about is now turned to a waste. Is that included?
Thank you.
In the decision? Thank you.
Thank you. We'll go back to Dr. Opeyemi Ekundayo. Are you ready?
I apologize for that in the network. I was putting it on the chat box that there is a need to look at the methodology properly. I think our focus already is broad. So bringing in diverse angles would make it a more problematic problem. I advise you to stick with what you have, but sit down with the methodology a bit more and see how you want to go about your interviews, your questionnaires, if you want to do qualitative and quanti, and then find a way around bringing answers to the questions that you have. It's important to do that because if you have so much to do, And at the end of the day, you don't have what you are contributing. You have too much to chew. And at the end of the day, you won't be digesting any. So I advise you to sit with what you have, find a way around, make the methodology clearer and more systematic. Then you have a beautiful output. Thank you very much for the opportunity to speak.
Thank you, ma. We'll now take Prince Adebowale. And then if Professor Olaiwola is still available, we'll take him. Then we go back to the on-site participants and then come back online. Thank you for your patience. Those hands, just bear with us. Prince Adebowale, please.
Good afternoon, everyone. I want to appreciate Dr. Bernard for this exciting topic, but I want to say that it's a little bit too here and there, that I find it hard concentrating on what she's really focusing about, you know. So I think if she wants to talk about it in the cultural aspect, she should focus on the cultural aspect of bodily waste and all that. And to add to the cultural aspect, traditionally, we know that when you want to pass powers from one person to another, sometimes they use the body parts, like the eating of the hearts, ojeoba, ojeokonba. It's believed that the bodily waste or bodily parts carries the essence of the person involved. So when we Africans, culturally, the Yorubas, we look at those body parts as an essence that we take from those that have passed on to us, from our ancestors, one to another. So that's why we say Oje Okonba, because it's the body, the waste of the heart that the king, the late king, is transferred to the new king. And this thing is transferred from one generation to generation. Thank you very much. I'm done. I hope I was clear, please.
Thank you very much. Chairman, please. Chairperson. Okay.
Is Professor Olaiwola still with us? If not, we will take Olubunmi Ashaolu for her comments, and then we revert to it. We said 5 this way, 5 that way. Dr. Ashaolu, please. Dr. Ashaolu. Not available.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you now.
Okay.
Yes, we can.
Thank you so much, Dr. Bernard, for this insightful presentation. While I was putting on the chat, I said you could look into the media, radio, screen, and even newspapers, especially that people now suggest that you streamline your data. Then my question is, how can the presenter or anyone tell us how do we dispose of body waste or body wears without being haunted? Because we all know this thing exists. Thank you. That's my question.
Excellent question. Now we revert to Professor Fashiku.
Thank you very much.
Professor Fashiku, over to you, sir.
Thank you. So we'll first start with Dr. Mrs. Faleye, number 1. Dr. Wole Koka, number 2. Dr. Bukola Omingbule, number 3. Dr. Shegun Titus, 4. And then Shiv Torumade, number 5. So the kind permission of the chairperson, 2 minutes. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Want to commend Dr. Bernard for this very exciting presentation. Well presented, well articulated. I, however, want to just add my view on what people have said. The issue of perception, you should take it very serious. Then don't widen your scope too much. Go through to cultural interpretation more. Then you need to interrogate the items you are listing. What and where are your views? Then the issue of time is very essential. You have not discussed the issue of timing at all. I will cite some instances of morning urine, ito aro. Permit me, I have to say it in Yoruba so that she will grasp this very early, fast. Ito aro, igbe idaji, ito akolu, ito akofo, ifun, ikun akofo. These are very, very sacred elements within some context of Yoruba culture. And the issue of health and power play, we may see after this discussion. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Bernard. I'm very conversant with this work, so I don't want to pretend as if I'm seeing it for the first time. I just want to give information to the audience, both online and offline. What she's working on is not about ritual elements. She's working on bodily waste that acquire new meanings as a result of new usages. So if somebody is, for example, if body parts are harvested of albinos, those people considered any orisha, it's not within the scope of what she's talking about.
Exactly.
But I would like to add that based, I don't know who suggested it, Professor Oladimo, you need to consider agency theory. Pierre Bourdieu's agency theory will give you some insight. In addition to that, I think you also need to, like they have suggested, streamline your data so that it will just be based on the areas you are working on. And anyone who sees your work will not say you are talking about ritual cleaning in Africa, money ritual, how heads are being severed. For example, I'll quickly run over it. This one is a domestic personal issue. My late stepmother died in 2008. And somehow, some people within my family said, okay, I don't know how to put it. Okay, they disposed of our property and they decided to share the money. And they told me that they were sharing money. I should send my account number. So I suggested to them that, remember Okuonu now, let's do something on the woman's tomb, at least to remember that she's the owner of the money I want to share and be enjoying. The crux of my thinking is that we went to that burial ground on Saturday. My sister came from Mushugbo. And lo and behold, as hungry as I thought I was, I said, let's just forget about this tomb thing. Because inside a church cemetery, when we opened the gate, the volume of rituals, and all those we found inside the very scary. So I just know that whether we like it or not, the question of efficacy must be answered. Why do people still believe that these things work? Does it mean that they work? Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Just 2 minutes. Well, I don't know. There's a lot to say as remarks to your presentation. But because we have this constraint of 2 minutes, I don't know where we have to start from. Dr. Koko just said something now, that you are working on along a particular direction. But the direction that we are following you to look at the work is quite different, or was quite different. So it's going to be very difficult for us to quickly resolve or reconcile those two opposing directions. But then, even if you are going in the direction Dr. Kuka has pointed out, there is no way you will still not be connected, all right, to the beliefs, the religious belief that sustain all these things they're talking about. So you can't escape. So I go to my room. The very first thing is to add to what people have said. Of course, I noted this as soon as I came around. It is to ask you, that all these things that you have in mind, how, in your own opinion, do they constitute waste, particularly from the angle of the culture that, or within the context of the culture that you want to, study this? It's very difficult. Okay? I say, okay, we are talking about bodily cuttings, trimmings, discharges, fluids, and then human remains. Then I ask you, do all this in Yoruba culture, particularly indigenous culture, do they constitute waste? So I think there is a big problem of Eurocentric consciousness that is guiding your study or your observation of these bodily elements. So please, then again, if you want to retain the concept haunting, I advise that you could say, you put it in inverted commas so that you can then specifically what do we say? Operationalize it. You have to operationalize it so that you know that you're not just saying all these elements, so they have beliefs or they haunt people, or there's some beliefs about them that haunt people. So that they will know the specific way you want them to understand this idea of haunting. Now, people have talked about your methodology. I think it's still very, very important. We will pardon that because, as I've said, this is an area that just popped up and is here to really mature. So you want people to really help you to get it mature. So it's value for that, but it's very problematic for now. But I'm going to suggest quickly to you that don't you think that indigenous hermeneutics will be needed for you to be able to account for the belief of people about this, rather than this, Western, approaches, theological approaches. Very important. I hope you get the point I'm making. All right. Let's say finally now. Then this one, I think it's a big one. Religion. People have been saying I was expecting, I don't want to talk initially. I told the professor, they say, I normally have a way of first observing. If people ask, speak along the line that I have in mind to say, I won't say anything. But when we didn't talk about the idea of religion as applicable to the Yoruba, then I was worried. I say, let me ask this question from you. Do you think the Yoruba have a religion? Or do you think the Yoruba people have some religion? If you think they have a religion, what is that religion? If you think they have some religion, then name those religion. But you run into a lot of problems. And there are so many, opinion submissions regarding this. So it is better for you to just take it as spirituality or spiritual practices and sacred hearts and things like that. You don't have any problem. But you go into the area of religion for the Yoruba people, we are not like that. We are very, very relaxed people who do our things. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Dr. Bernard, for the fascinating presentation. I just want to talk about two things, and that is theory. Dr. Omigbule mentioned something that kind of, although this is not Eurocentric actually, but I think you can create your own idea and theory, okay, and even just oppose or complicate these other ones mentioned from Western orientation. I mean, we have a lot of ideas, proverbs, can just develop and be the theorist, especially for the first book you are working on. So I'm suggesting you create your own theory within the scope of the materials you are gathering. Secondly, we've talked about methodology, and I look at the musicking or sound space, okay? That is my consistency, and the ecological narratives, okay? Environmental pollution. Symbolism, representation in the songs, and this is pop. But I'm sure we have a lot of chants that, and even the historicization or the historical narratives or chronological ideas in terms of time space, okay, and within the territorial, space too. I think this state in theory and method, I think can just look at that. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I think we are done in-house. Oh, sorry.
Standing on the existing protocols, what I was about what Oga said, but because
there is no religion in Africa, and your research is scientific in content, spiritual in operation. And then in Africa, there is more of spirituality in what you are saying. It's not everything that is religious. There is no religious in what you are presenting, but it's more spiritual. And there's something we call subatomic energy, because whatever is part of you has a direct connection with you. Even after 1,000 years, it's still connected to you. And then, because as Daniel said, look, I would have loved the title to be attached to spirituality, not religion. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I think we'll go back.
Thank you, sir. There's still one hand online. Lucky. Is that Mr. Lucky? Lucky? He's not speaking. Okay, we can't hear you. We cannot hear you. It's coming up. Please check again, sir.
Can you hear me?
Yes, now we can hear you. You have 2 minutes, sir.
No. Hello?
We can
Hello,
hear.
sir.
Go ahead, Professor.
I can see you there.
Please go ahead.
Yes, but we... Okay. Professor Lukono, I don't know if you are still online, sir.
Professor Akaruese, we can hear you. Please go ahead.
Okay, you can hear me, yeah. Look, for the present, it is quite, the topic is tantalizing. Let me commend the presenter seriously, because the topic is, personally, I would have taken it seriously, it's an issue. But she evoked in me
we can't hear you anymore. We can't hear you, sir.
Hello?
Now I can hear you.
Can you hear me?
Yes, now I can hear you.
Thank you, madam. Let me commend the speaker, especially the topic. The topic is quite broad, but it encapsulates so much about our traditional belief. One of those there asks a rhetorical question. Does it mean that they work?
We can't hear you anymore.
Prof, send your comments through the chat. Send your comments through the chat box, please.
Fachiko, what is connections there?
No, it's not. It's at your end, sir.
It's at your end, Prof. Send your comments.
Thank you, sir.
I can't hear you too.
It's your connection, sir. So we are moving on. Thank you, sir. We will appreciate if you can send your comments online. Professor Lukono. Professor Lukono, sir. I'm not sure he's with us. So before we round up, I would like to invite the presenter to respond in 5 minutes. We have moved on, sir. Dr. Bernard, please, can you make a response to the issues raised in 5 minutes?
Sharp, please, let's allow Professor Akaruese once more. Let's give him another opportunity.
He's breaking me. He's breaking. Okay. Over to you, sir.
Reverse crisis. Professor Akaruese, please make another effort.
You can see it's not coming on.
Please unmute. Okay, so please, Prof, we have tried to. It's just that we cannot hear you. So please put your comments on the chat box. We'll take them and respond to them. Thank you very much. So,
Dr. Bernard, over to you. Dr. Bernard.
I'm here trying to grab the mic.
And your 5 minutes is going.
My time starts now. Oh, thank you very much, everyone. Thank you, Chairperson, Professor Taiwo. And thank you, Professor Lademo, for your very, very insightful feedback. I will text you to get the full feedback. And thank you, everyone, online and in person, for your very generous feedback. There is a lot that I am tinkering with at the moment, even that I can spend the whole day and I probably will not even scratch the surface yet. So I hear you, and believe me, there are questions that I don't even know how to answer, like Dr. Ashaolu's question about how to dispose how can we properly dispose bodily waste. Ma'am, I don't have answers to your question, but I will say that there are various ways. All this while we have been disposing. For example, when I trim my boys' nails, I flush them into the toilet. And
let me interrupt you. Dr. Bernard, let me interrupt.
Yes,
it
ma'am.
is not for you to give us answers to the question.
Yeah,
it is for you to include it in your questionnaire, because you may be surprised you will come up with more answers than you have thought. So please don't attempt to give us an answer to the question. I just asked you to speak in case you want to give a clearer picture of how you have streamlined your work in light of the various suggestions, the ones you will pick on board and the ones that limitations cannot allow you to do. You have 1 more minute now.
Thank you very much, ma'am. That takes a lot of weight off of my shoulder because I don't even know how to begin to answer. But I will develop another method of data collection which will be quantitative. I will have to maybe consider to design questionnaires that would include some of these questions and see how I can incorporate them into my analysis and my engagement of this bodily waste. Like I said, yes, I cannot shed off the cultural interpretation of this bodily waste, but my focus are the questions that I asked earlier. How do people interact with this bodily waste? It is when they leave the body, my focus is not about when they are in the body. It is when they leave, they become waste. When there is an excreta that has been passed, it has become waste. I don't think it's because when it's still in the body, it's good. It may be okay, but when it leaves the body, it is waste. I don't think anybody would like to keep their poo in the same room as them just because they have a very good connection to it. So that means it is waste. That is what Mary Douglas is saying. When it has left an order that the original order, it is likely to have become waste. That is what I am saying. So that is my own definition of what waste is. And also the connection to I'm looking at politics. I'm looking at and when I say I would not even put myself into the argument on religion or what is religion. There are loads of Akim is a theologist. He knows how much argument is on religion. I'm not putting myself into it. I'm just going to go right now with what is generally the terms that have still been accepted, which is religion. The focus of my work is not to debate what is religion and what is not. I will go with the current accepted term right now. Thank you, everyone, again, for your wonderful feedback. I will have the institute put my email up so that if you have further questions or have input that you want to send to me, I will take everything and I will sift through like Dr. Ekundaya has suggested. Thank you very much again for everyone. I see Father Ekun. A Catholic priest is actually online, so I would like to also hear his opinion of what bodily waste is. But yes, like Dr. Professor Ademo has said, I will be consulting IFA priest. I'm already consulting with them. So IFA orature is my major data for orature. And I will be doing I probably will be presenting the chapters at some point, maybe at the institute as I'm developing the chapters. Thank you again, everyone. I appreciate it. Have a wonderful evening. I hope I don't come back.
Thank you, Dr. Bernard. That was a good response. And on this note, I believe we are concluding the interactive section. I want to say thank you to all our participants. I see big fishes in the audience. I really appreciate your time. And also online, the quality of participation and presence. We, on behalf of everyone, say thank you to Institute of Cultural Studies for organizing this and giving us an opportunity to participate. Over to you, Professor Fashiku. Thank you.
Thank you very much. My share person, let me begin by appreciating you far away from another land, and you've made this possible. We want to thank you very much for effectively coordinating today's webinar. We would also like to appreciate Professor Oyeronke Oladimo, who also has moved from her location to another, and yet still have to create time to make this very eventful and purposeful. We want to thank her, her comments, her discussions, and every great and mighty thing that she has added as input to this research. I'm sure the presenter has benefited immensely from that discussion. Let me also just thank, in the first instance, our colleagues who joined in the university. I was sharing with the the presenter yesterday that it takes a whole lot for people to come from different places to come to the university to attend a program like this. In terms of time, in terms of resources, people have to burn energy. You know what I mean? And that energy is so costly today, both in availability and even in the cost. So I want to appreciate everyone who is here, and I will not make that mistake of mentioning name. Let me just thank you for coming. Also online, I also like to appreciate at a point we are having close to 60, 65 people online. That tells us how widely these have been attended. Also tells us the acceptability of this forum as a place where we garner knowledge, experience, and share very impressive ideas. So on that note, I'd like to thank the presenter who had also volunteered to share. You know, this is, as you can see, it's a work in progress. And so she sharing it with us is to not only to her benefit, it's also to our benefit. I believe strongly, even from what she has shared, the number of questions will continue to come up. And I believe scholars in the house would also begin to tear their own parts from that, what she has presented, because when Dr. Faleye talked about Ikoakowu, you know, it tells you that even when you talk about those elements, there are, and then when you talk about agencies, there are metaphysical agencies involved. So much things to be added to that discussion. So I want to thank Dr. Oluwabumi Bernard for making this presentation lively and then very impactful. Finally, let me thank, just specially before we close, two grandmas who are here, who have to leave all that they are doing in town to just make sure that they are here. Mama Ade, we want to thank you, and Mama too, we also want to appreciate you for coming. Thank you very much. Venerable Odunlade, all the way from that deep side of the town. It's a whole lot of time. Then shift to Romadi. Let me just specially thank those colleagues who came all the way from town. For those of us who are on campus, on quarters, I know you also have done one thing or the other to be here. Thank you very much. Thank my Oga, Professor Salami, for always being here. Thank you very much, sir. So on that note, just one information. We are closing 1 year of successful engagement on this webinar from November 2023 to October 2024. As many as the manuscripts that we have collected, these manuscripts are being processed, and just our dream and our plan to put them out in publication on or before the end of 2024. So we are starting a new year in November. So next month, we'll be coming out with another webinar. And I'm sure you will be there to support us, to be with us. So, chairperson, thank you very much. Discussant, thank you very much. And participant, sincere appreciation. Thank you very much.